Hello, everybody. I'm going to talk to you about the actions of Enedis, which is the distribution system operator in France. We actually operate 95% of the distribution system composed of medium and low voltage level. We are a state-owned company. We have 13 million euro turnover, 38,000 workers, and that's why we are here today. Almost 400,000 producers directly connected to the distribution system. So Enedis, as we used to say, is at the heart of the energy transition. And what we say at the heart, because we are able, at least that is our mission, we are to be able to connect anytime, anywhere, anything. I mean, in terms of distributed energy resources. And that's something new, because 10 years ago, there was no megawatt connected to the distribution system. There were renewable in France. There is today, again, among 20 gigawatts of hydraulic dam connected mainly to the transmission system. But on the distribution system, there was nothing. And in less than 10 years, we connected something like 20 gigawatts of renewable, mainly wind farms and solar panels. And according to the Paris Agreement on Climate and recent negotiations at the European level, we will have to connect one more 20 gigawatts on our distribution system in the next 10 years.
Okay.
Okay.
So have you got
And
anything?
I will develop later how
Yeah,
we
we'll investigate it later, Alain.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Okay. So by the power of the slide, we will find out who is going to be next.
So I'm very happy to be there. I'm Katia Ronzeau. I'm from Ecosys Group. Ecosys, it's a less known company as my co-panelists. We are a French innovative company delivering business services and technologies, mainly to innovate and grow and help other organizations to do so. And for now 8 years, our founders decided to launch and operate a very big network in France. It's called the Clean Tech Open France. It's a huge ecosystem of startups and public and private companies who try to promote and develop, accelerate clean energy solutions. So we have a very large database of startups, more than 400 alumni that went through this network in France. And two of the former panelists were actually part of this alumni. Why did Ecosys decide to launch such a network in France? It's mainly because we think it's urgent to accelerate clean energy solutions. And for that, we choose to bring expertise together. We choose also to develop specific expertise ourselves. For example, we use systemic thinking. I don't know if you're aware of that type of methods. It's a way to design simple framework to solve complex issues. And I think in the sustainable energies area, there are a lot of issues, complex issues that remain to be solved. And another key expertise is that we modelize ecosystem. That's why we are called Ecosys Group. It's a new way to identify solutions and try to accelerate the transformation. So that's mainly what we do.
Brilliant, thank you. And the next person is a super substitute. We have Nathalie, who is here in place of her boss, who unfortunately got delayed because she was she was doing a very important job. She was actually at the UN until, well, this morning, I think, and then unfortunately, so Nathalie.
BNP Paribas is a bank, a large one. We are 180,000 people around the world. And energy transition and fighting climate change is one of our key strategic issues for CSR. So what we do is really twofold. First one is we try to limit the negative impact of energy production. That's why we took very serious steps regarding production of electricity based on coal and based on shale gas and production of electricity based on coal and coal mining. And we also decided to stop financing shale gas extraction and pipeline related to that. So really the idea is because we are a very large bank, we do have an impact and we try to limit the negative impact. But if we want to accelerate the energy transition, then we probably have to do more and help to find new solutions. On that, we've got several means. What we try to do is really to shift our financing and to go and help clients who do have solutions, because we have a bank have a relatively limited impact on our own energy consumption, even though we decided to be carbon neutral to really lead by example. But we have new tools, new ways of doing credit, new ways of financing clients to help them choosing the good solution. It can be for retail customer, for energy efficiency, but it can also be for large corporate. And I just put a few examples of what we can do, both in financing startups and on the other hand, on financing large corporates. Those two kind of clients are very different need, and our idea is to try to design a specific solution for each of them.
Wonderful, thank you. Okay, so we now have some questions. And the question I'm really curious about, actually, is that obviously the two organizations, the big ones represented on the stage here, you're demonstrating real clear leadership around climate change and the energy transition. But unfortunately, I would suggest you might be in the minority of large organizations that are really making a difference here rather than doing what you might call greenwash. So what do you think could encourage in other large organizations to be join you in taking that leadership?
I think we have several ways. First one, and the easiest one, would be to demonstrate it works. And our idea really to be strong in energy transition is also to send a message that it's possible to finance good and positive solutions. And we do have the feeling that even if it will increase competition, then if it works for us, it can work for other companies. That's maybe one. And second thing would also be the push of our clients. Our retail client, investor client, they do ask for long-term solution. They do ask for financing energy transition. And as a large commercial organization, the driver of a client demand is very strong. So I guess those two levels can help to accelerate.
So a quick follow-up question there. Have you seen much take-up from the big financial organizations in competition yet? With you taking leadership, have you seen other organizations following?
Yes. For example, a few years ago, things like green bonds, meaning bonds dedicated to a green financing, it was an anecdote. I mean, we could sort them in one page, and we always talk about the same because we had very few examples. That's not true anymore. That's a real market. That's a real asset class. So it means that a lot of our competitors, a lot of our peers, also found that this was a good way to develop a new asset class, propose new solutions to investors, and propose new solutions to issuers too.
Okay, excellent. So.
Concerning Enedis, we have a different posture. As we are a monopoly on our business, distribution system operating, we want to appear as a neutral third party for all the actors of the energy transition. And when I mean all the actors, I mean, of course, the suppliers, the consumers who want to produce, what we call the prosumers. I mean the storage operators. I mean aggregators, who are companies that aggregate what we call flexibilities. It means all kinds of solutions that allows to act on the demand. So this is our goal, it is to enhance all these actors and to allow them to make their job for the benefit of the customers.
Okay, great. And then are you actually kind of trying to join together those actors? How are you, because you've got the monopoly, but to a certain extent also gives you an advantage because you can kind of convene everybody. How are you doing that?
We are doing several things because all these actors have not exactly the same expectations. But basically, one of our things we do, and which is very important, is the development of smart grids. Because when I said that we connected 20 gigawatt of renewables in less than 10 years, it's not just like clicking fingers. It's because our older, I would say, distribution systems, which were dimensioned and planned to distribute energy from primary substations down to the consumer, with nothing else in the middle to interfere. Now we have to face another problem where sometimes during the day or during the year we have flows that go from the primary substation down to the consumers, and at other periods of the year or the day, the flow comes from the prosumer and goes back to the primary substation. So this is very complicated, and to make this happen, we have been obliged to turn from a passive distribution system to an active distribution system. So that means smart grids, it means special technologies to allow a better voltage control and to detect transit constraints. And when we have transit constraint, what we are developing is marketplaces where all these actors, might then be suppliers, aggregators, or storage operator, they can see where we have a constraint, what is the nature of the constraint, if it's 10 megawatt, 20 megawatt, 5 megawatt, and if they have some solution for this, they can subscribe on the platform and say, hello, I have a solution for your problem, and instead of spending tens of thousands of euros creating or building a new facility, I have a solution at no extra cost, little cost for you.
Yeah, so you're kind of creating a platform for them to build upon, which is great to create that incentive to people to take leadership. Katia, you work with lots of large organizations. Tell me a bit about how you're seeing them developing in taking leadership.
Yeah, I think in the energy transition we have to consider both energy efficiency and renewable energies. I think that maybe I am too optimistic, but I thought many more organizations willing or taking commitments even to reduce their impact on the environment. Even if I'm still concerned because to make good decisions, you need to get a clear view on the whole value chain of every product you decide to buy, to every technologies you choose to install, and so on. And I think there is no good or perfect answer. So many organizations are taking care of this, more awareness. Now they need to act and to take good decisions. And for that, we try to help them by providing the best information that is available. It's not always easy to take decisions then, but it's what we can do to help them.
Great, great. Okay, and then, so moving on actually, the last panel, we had some very innovative startups there, and fascinating ones. Why do you think these sort of startups are important to the energy transition?
Because, as I was just saying to you, we are just right now developing a kind of marketplace for all the actors of the market in the field of energy transition. And if we have an idea of what it could be, we are maybe a little too big to create that platform and make it in time to the market. So for all these subjects, which are creating very fast and with large expectations of the actors of the market, and very soon, we think that being helped by startup allows us to be more efficient, more time to market, and besides this, they have skills basically in ICT technology and artificial intelligence too, because we have some artificial intelligence in these kinds of platforms. These are skills that are more developed in the startups with which we are working, but inside the Enedis teams.
Wonderful. And then maybe Nathalie, from BNP, why do you think it's so important to have these startups?
It's very important because we have to find new solutions, and very often the new solutions come from new people having new ideas. So even though large corporates like us can provide help and support them, I think because we need to find new technical solutions on storage, batteries, smart grids, energy efficiency, we need those people, those companies, to really come to us and propose their vision of the future and their vision of transition. So we need the technical solution, but we also need the vision to know where we can go and know how we can accompany them.
Yeah, great stuff. And Katia, do you have any thoughts on why this is important?
Yeah, to me, every type of organizations are important indeed. I think startups, if I compare, because I were in a big company before joining Ecosys, they are more agile, they are more in capacity to reinvent solutions and to adapt their business models and so on. But at the end, startups need large corporations. They need them to partner, to have clients. They need also banks and VCs, and they need a lot of other organizations to make innovation happen, actually. And that's why we truly believe we have to bring all these people together, and then it's a way to accelerate the path of the transformation. So that's my view.
Oh, brilliant, thank you. And actually, Nathalie, picking up something Katia just said there about creating the financial solutions. There might be some people in the hall here who are desperate for some cash for their amazing, exponentially, potentially growing, sustainable solution.
Don't raise expectation too much. I will listen, but I'm not sure I have cash in the bank.
But I understand actually you're being, as a bank, innovative. What sort of solutions are you coming up with that can help with this energy transition?
One of the ideas we have is that as a bank, we have to provide an incentive to clients who do have a solutions. So for example, large corporate, what we try to do is we try to have a margin which will decrease if the client make an improvement in its environmental profile. For example, use less energy to produce or have better assessment of its supply chain in terms of climate or in terms of human rights. So one of the ideas we have is we have a role to play, and this role is an incentive. We will not make the decision for the client, but we can help him or the company choose by having this financial incentive, for example, in the margin. So that's one of the examples of the product really designed to help a client move their money in the good way.
Great stuff. And
yes.
Alain.
Another important point for us is the data, because I talked about smart grids and our ability to connect renewable. But data now is one of the most important elements for the actors of the market. And with our smart meter Linky, every day now we are collecting billions and billions of data. And these data are very profitable for everyone. They are profitable for startups, for public offices, for private investors, because they are a key to better understand how the people are consuming, how they are producing, what kind of building has a poor energy efficiency quality, what buildings need to be rehabilitated. And for the people like aggregator and storage operator, they need a vision for the next future to see if their business will be a good business or not. And for this, they need data to forecast by themselves when there will be constraint on the network, when there will be sun or wind or no wind, and when their storage capacity can be useful for the network. So data is also a very big matter. And for this too, we need the help of startup to manage this huge quantity of data.
Yeah, that's great. And that actually leads in Katia as well. You, I understand day to day you do deal with a lot of data. So tell us a bit about how you're dealing with that data. What does that do for your clients? How's that helping them?
Maybe I will quote two kind of projects that I've worked on this year. The first one is a sort of giant platform, not at city level, but at supra-regional level. The aim was to collect and gather public and private data, all kind of available data, not only open data, but also different kind of sources that could help accelerate innovation, and that could, at the end, help develop new services and get the region more attractive. So that's one example, and I think Enedis already explained that data is everywhere. We have a lot more and more equipments that are connected and that will use data tomorrow. We will have our city lighting, our boilers, our fridge, I don't know, a lot of things in our homes, in our vehicles and so on, that they will be connected in the near future. And we have to think about how we can manage them in a secure way and what we can do with this kind of data. Do we have the right one? Is it good for the energy transition, for the environment? Can we try through that data to reduce our energy consumption or not? So that's kind of question that we are asked for.
Yeah.
And maybe another example is if you consider data. Yeah.
Sorry, I've been asked, we're nearly finished. So that was a really good example, though, but thank you. So the final thing, though, I'd like to do, Katia talked about connecting the information, connecting the data. What I'd like to do is actually, just as a final thing, for those who are here at the start, I asked you to connect with somebody near to you about why you came to this session. So I'd like to spend a minute connecting with somebody near to you about what you've got out of this session, whether it was the keynote, the innovators, or the corporates from the transition. Have just a quick chat about that. And but before that, we'll just give these guys a round of applause. And thank you very much for attending. But I would encourage you to connect with the people around you. Thank you.